Even if it might just be a bad reputation, snakes are kind of creepy. They're all slithery and move in weird ways, and they're already terrifying on their own, but they get even scarier when they're huge. If you have a phobia, you might want to close your eyes. These are the largest snakes in the world. But before we get started, make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave your like. Now, let's get started. Number 20. Green Anaconda. Before anything else, I want to clarify something about this first group of 2 snakes, because it might cause some confusion. You see, the first 2 species I'm going to mention are, without a doubt, the largest snakes on the planet. The thing is, determining which one is actually the largest depends a lot on how you define that term. We're talking about criteria like length, weight, thickness, and even physical presence. For example, I'm going to start the list with the famous and imposing green anaconda, a true legend among reptiles, which holds the title of the heaviest snake in the world. And that's due to its absolutely colossal size. And yes, when I say heavy, I really mean it. We're talking about a snake carrying many kilos of pure power. It may not be the longest in terms of head-to-tail measurement, but let's be honest, don't make jokes about that. The absurd weight is exactly what makes it so terrifying. To give you an idea, it can weigh twice as much as the next snake on my list, and still have a length that's downright intimidating. If a green anaconda can reach an impressive 9 meters in length and weigh around 250 kilos, now just imagine coming across a beast like that in the wild, completely free in nature. Honestly, it'd be hard not to shake in your boots, or even consider an emergency evacuation at that moment. And here's another thing. Something that might seem counterintuitive to some is the fact that males aren't the ones that grow the largest. In fact, it's the females that reach colossal sizes. Yes, we're talking about true scaly giants. Just thinking about the eggs they lay is enough to give you chills. It's nature in its most brutal and awe-inspiring form. Number 19. Reticulated python. The green anaconda is undoubtedly a gigantic snake, but when it comes to length, it doesn't take the trophy. That title belongs to the incredible and terrifying reticulated python, a species that stands out as the longest snake on the planet. If you're defining the largest snake in the world based on total length, meaning from head to tail, then this one is the undisputed champion. This species is known for surpassing impressive limits. Although size varies from individual to individual, there have been records of reticulated pythons reaching up to 10 meters in length. Think about that for a second. 10 meters is more than 5 times the height of a person who's already above average height. It's the kind of animal that could easily wrap around you multiple times and still have snake left over. Even though they aren't as heavy as the green anaconda, these reptiles are far from lightweights. They can weigh around 136 kilos, which is more than enough to cause serious trouble. Yes, we're talking about a creature that's not only long, but also deadly. It's a gigantic snake, folks, and its reputation definitely lives up to its size. But what really makes it terrifying? You might be wondering. Well, aside from the intimidating appearance, the reticulated python has some pretty dark stories tied to its name. For instance, there are chilling reports from Indonesia where 2 different people were swallowed whole by reticulated pythons, and this happened in the same town. No exaggeration, no myths, and no fake news. These snakes don't hesitate to attack humans if the opportunity seems right. And what's most curious is that, despite being known for their aggression in the wild, when kept in captivity, especially in zoos, some of them display surprisingly calm behavior. It's an almost ironic duality. Another important point is that because of their long bodies, they're hunted for their skins, which are highly sought after in the fashion and craft industries. Even so, the species' population remains relatively stable, showing just how resilient and adaptable this snake really is. It's a true force of nature. Number 18. Amethystine python. Back to the fascinating world of real and impressive snakes, we now arrive at a species you may have never heard of, but one that definitely deserves attention: the amethystine python. Although it's not as well known as its giant cousins, this is a snake that commands respect wherever it goes. And believe me, you should know about it, because we're talking about a big species, really big, one that could easily rank as the 3rd longest snake in the world. At its peak, this serpent is believed to reach an incredible 8.5 meters in length, placing it right up there with the largest snakes on the planet. Now, of course, there's a catch. Unlike the snakes mentioned earlier on this list, like the green anaconda and the reticulated python, the amethystine python doesn't have the same body mass. It's noticeably slimmer with a more slender body, which means it doesn't have the same capacity to swallow large prey. While its bulkier relatives can consume pigs, deer, and even humans, the amethystine's diet is a bit more limited. They hunt smaller animals like rodents and medium-sized birds, and prefer to use their agility to catch and overpower their prey. But that doesn't mean they're harmless. Far far from it. Now, if you're wondering where this exotic and almost poetic name comes from, it's directly tied to its appearance. Its scales have a unique shine, with iridescent tones ranging from metallic blues to deep purples, creating a look that truly resembles a precious gemstone. When lit by sunlight, these scales shimmer as if they've been polished, which perfectly explains the name Amethystine. It's a snake that grabs attention not only for its size, but also for its striking beauty. You may have never seen one up close, and there's a reason for that. This species lives in more remote regions like Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Australia, and the Philippines, which makes direct contact with humans more difficult. Even so, although it's not as thick or deadly as other giant snakes, it still demands respect. After all, a snake over 8 meters long is still an imposing, powerful creature, and, above all, much bigger than you, and that alone is reason enough to keep your distance. Number 17. Burmese pythons. If you're starting to notice a pattern here, yes, I'm talking a lot about pythons, and you'll have to get used to it because the world of giant snakes is pretty much ruled by them. Pythons, in general, are known for reaching impressive sizes, and a great example of that is the famous Burmese python. This snake, besides being large, is quite interesting for a reason that contrasts with its size. It's relatively docile. Even when it reaches colossal proportions, this species tends to be quite calm, something that might seem contradictory, but it's true. It's so calm, in fact, that many people feel confident enough to keep one as a pet, which is, to say the least, questionable. It has actually become somewhat common in certain reptile-keeping circles, where people think it's a cool idea to have a snake of this size at home. But let's get one thing straight. No matter how gentle this species might seem, that doesn't make it harmless. Keeping a Burmese python at home can be a real challenge. These animals require strict care, proper feeding, and most importantly, enough space to accommodate their size. If you fail in any of these areas, you could end up with a serious problem, because yes, they can become aggressive if not properly taken care of. Originally from Southeast Asia, this species can grow up to 7 meters long and weigh an impressive 90 kilos. In other words, it's a bit more than what you'd expect from a pet, unless of course you're talking about a horse, a cow, or some other farm animal, which, let's be honest, isn't the case here. An interesting fact about this snake is that its size directly affects its habitat. When young and still lightweight, these snakes tend to live in trees, where they can move more easily and hunt smaller prey. But as they grow and gain weight, they become too heavy for an arboreal life and settle on the ground, where they can move more steadily. And there's more. The Burmese python is also an excellent swimmer. It can stay submerged for up to 30 minutes, showing that we're not just talking about a land-dwelling snake, but a true survival machine adapted to different environments. This combination of size, versatility, and temperament makes it one of the most fascinating and dangerously underestimated snakes in the world. Number 15. The black mamba. Now let's talk about a snake that, besides being large, is the very definition of terror, and for good reason. The black mamba is not only one of the most well-known snakes in Africa, but also one of the most feared on the entire planet. And that's no exaggeration. This isn't the kind of snake you just spot and move on from. It demands absolute respect. It can grow up to 4.5 meters long, which is already intimidating on its own. But what really makes this snake legendary is the fact that it's incredibly venomous. And we're not talking about just any venom. The black mamba is often cited as one of, if not the, deadliest snakes in the world. Its venom is a highly potent neurotoxic cocktail, and the amount injected in a single bite is enough to kill multiple humans. If you think that sounds exaggerated, just wait until you hear this. Without proper treatment, the average victim has about 30 minutes to live. And it's not a peaceful death. The venom paralyzes the muscles, stops the respiratory system, causes organ failure, and leads to death through intense, progressive pain. But what's most curious about the black mamba is its contradictory personality. Despite its fearsome reputation, it's actually quite shy and reserved, avoiding confrontation whenever possible. It prefers to slither away from danger and mind its own business. However, if cornered or threatened, the black mamba transforms into something straight out of a nightmare. It raises the front part of its body, opens its pitch-black mouth, which is where it gets its name, and strikes with a speed that's nearly impossible to follow with the naked eye. It can deliver multiple bites in just seconds, and each one carries enough venom to bring down a small elephant. This snake is so legendary across the African continent that it has inspired myths, stories, and a deep respect, even among wild animals. It's a living reminder that the deadliest predator isn't always the loudest. Sometimes it's the quietest, the fastest, and the most lethal. If you're ever walking through an African region and hear someone mention the black mamba, know this. It's not just talk. It's a warning you should take very seriously. Number 14. The African python. While Africa is known for its venomous and dangerous snakes like the black mamba, it's also home to giants that kill in a very different way. And that's where the mighty African python comes in. It might not be the deadliest when it comes to venom, but it's definitely one of the most impressive snakes on the continent, especially because of its colossal size. While the black mamba reaches a terrifying 4.5 meters in length, the African python can grow up to 7.5 meters, placing it among the largest snakes in the world. And unlike the mamba, it doesn't need venom to be deadly. This snake uses its own body as a lethal weapon, wrapping itself around its prey and squeezing with such force that it cuts off blood flow and breathing. Death is slow and inevitable. In terms of behavior, the African python is a solitary and independent creature. It doesn't live in shared dens like some vipers, nor does it need a partner to hunt or hide. It prefers to do everything on its own and adapts easily to different environments. You can find it slithering silently across the ground, swimming through rivers with total control, or even climbing trees to ambush its prey from above. This versatility is what makes it so efficient. And speaking of prey, brace yourself. This snake has no dietary restrictions. It can devour everything from small mammals to monkeys, fruit bats, monitor lizards, chickens, dogs, goats, and even small crocodiles. It's a walking nightmare. Now, if you're thinking that because it isn't venomous, it's somehow less dangerous than the black mamba, well, think again. The absence of venom isn't a weakness. It's just a different hunting strategy. It bites to grab the prey, then coils its muscular body around it, squeezing until the victim can no longer breathe. It's brutal, it's silent, and it's effective. So, if you ever come across one of these in the African wilderness, remember this: not every threat comes with venomous fangs. Sometimes it comes with 7 meters of raw power, killer patience, and hunger. Number 12. The Indian python. Believe it or not, India is a true paradise for snakes, home to an impressive variety of species. This is largely due to the country's terrain and climate, which create ideal conditions for these reptiles. However, what makes this situation a bit more concerning is that many of these snakes aren't exactly known for being gentle. A perfect example of this is the feared Indian python. This hefty snake can reach over 6 meters, about 20 feet, in exceptional cases, although it's more common to find individuals measuring between 3.5 and 4.5 meters. Which, let's face it, is still a considerable size for any slithering creature. With such an imposing body, it doesn't rely on speed to capture its prey. Instead, it uses a clever strategy: ambush. These snakes like to lie in wait, often coiled in tree branches or hidden within dense vegetation, patiently watching for an unsuspecting animal to wander close. When the prey finally approaches, completely unaware of the danger lurking above, the python strikes with precision, and by then, it's already too late to escape. But it doesn't stop there. The Indian python shows even more cunning by carefully selecting its habitats. It prefers areas that offer natural advantages, good cover, and quick escape routes. Places near water sources are ideal, as they provide shelter, humidity, and easy access to prey that frequently visits those environments. Although it's not the most lethal snake in India, the Indian python certainly stands out for its size, strength, and intelligence. It's the kind of creature you definitely don't want to come across unprepared, because even without venom, it's powerful enough to pose a real threat. Number 11. King cobra. So far, you've seen several snakes that deserve respect, or better yet, caution, due to their lethal potential. But when it comes to the dreaded king cobra, the tone of the conversation changes entirely. This isn't just a dangerous snake, it's a true legend among venomous serpents, and for all the right, or rather, terrifying reasons. To begin with, we're talking about a large snake, which, let's be honest, was expected given its spot on this list. An adult king cobra can easily reach 3.6 meters, about 12 feet, and in extreme cases, some specimens have been recorded at an astounding 5.5 meters, 18 feet. That's basically a snake the size of a car, and it has no problem using its full length to intimidate you, stare you down, and if necessary, fill you with venom. And speaking of venom, this is one of the king cobra's trademarks. While its venom isn't technically the most potent in the world in terms of pure toxicity, it makes up for that flaw with a truly alarming ability. It can inject an absolutely absurd amount of venom in a single bite. It's the classic case of volume over potency. The result? A deadly cocktail capable of killing up to 20 people in a single strike, or, in extreme cases, even a full-grown elephant. That fact alone is enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. Knowing that such a creature exists, with lethal power, intimidating size, and territorial behavior, is enough to make anyone uncomfortable just imagining it. The king cobra is also known for being highly intelligent and territorial, able to recognize threats and respond aggressively if it feels cornered. It's the kind of animal you definitely want to avoid at all costs, especially in parts of Southeast Asia, where it's most commonly found. Number 10. Mulga snake. The Mulga snake, also known as the king brown snake, is an impressive serpent you might have already heard of, whether for its striking appearance, its toxicity, or simply its fearsome reputation in the animal kingdom. While it's not the largest snake on the planet, it certainly stands out for other equally intimidating traits. On average, the Mulga grows to about 3 meters, around 10 feet, in length. That might not seem extreme compared to some of the giants in the snake world, but what really sets it apart is the animal's physical build. This snake is incredibly robust. It has a wide, powerful head and a thick, muscular body, perfect for overpowering prey of various sizes and handling the harshest natural conditions. In other words, it's built for survival, and it does that very well. What really grabs attention, however, is its venom. The Mulga is classified as a venomous snake, although its venom isn't among the most potent in the world. But much like the king cobra, it compensates for that lack of intensity with a terrifyingly large amount of venom that can be delivered in a single bite. A bite from the Mulga snake can cause a number of severe reactions. It has the ability to induce paralysis, cause blood clotting, and affect several of the victim's bodily systems. The effects are rapid and dangerous, and the attack can be fatal if not treated immediately. And yes, it's worth mentioning, the bite is extremely painful. It's not just a biological threat, it's a physically brutal experience. This snake is native to Australia, a country already known for harboring some of the most dangerous animals on the planet. The Mulga is just one more example of that reputation. With its strength, resilience, and venomous capability, it poses a real risk to anyone who crosses its path without caution. Number 9. The 10-meter Anaconda. Most of the time, when we talk about snakes, their lengths are based on known species averages or individuals measured and recorded by experts. This sets certain expectations about how big these creatures can get. But every now and then, nature throws us a curveball, and that's exactly what happened with a gigantic anaconda found in Brazil that shattered all known records. But before you start thinking this is just something out of a movie, like that classic where a massive anaconda was hunting people in the jungle. What was the name again? Something like Anaconda, right? Know that in this case, reality was even more jaw-dropping. According to reports, this colossal serpent was discovered during cave work as part of a construction operation. A controlled explosion was used to clear the way. What no one expected was that, upon entering the site after the blast, they would come face to face with a snake straight out of a nightmare. The anaconda found measured an astonishing 10 meters in length, a number far beyond what's typical even for this already massive species. And as if that wasn't enough, reports claimed the snake's body had a diameter of over 90 centimeters. That's wider than many people's waistlines. A true monster of nature. The discovery sparked quite a bit of controversy, especially due to the fact that the snake was reportedly killed shortly after being found. Many questioned whether it was truly necessary to take the life of such a rare and extraordinary animal, or if there might have been a more ethical way to handle the situation. Regardless of the controversy, the case stands as a powerful reminder that even with all the science and statistics we have, nature still holds surprises, and some of them are massive, silent, and covered in scales. Number 8. The bushmaster. The bite of the bushmaster, also known as Lachesis muta, is not something you want to risk experiencing. This snake is considered one of the deadliest in the world, and that's no exaggeration. Its venom is so potent that even with immediate access to medical treatment, the chances of survival can be terrifyingly low. Just imagine a bite that, despite all the advances of modern medicine, can still be a death sentence. That says a lot about the power of this creature. To make things worse, the bushmaster doesn't rely solely on its venom to wreak havoc. It also possesses an impressive strike speed. With quick, precise movements, it can hit its prey with a generous dose of venom that begins causing severe damage within minutes. The toxin cocktail in its venom can lead to organ failure, internal bleeding, and paralysis, making it an incredibly efficient predator and a truly fearsome enemy. But if you think that's already bad enough, wait until you hear this. The bushmaster is a nocturnal hunter. That's right, it prefers to hunt at night, when most animals are at their most vulnerable. And to make things even scarier, this snake has heat-sensing pits on its head that allow it to detect the body heat of its prey with surgical precision. In other words, even in total darkness, it sees you, literally. Now picture this. You're walking through a tropical forest. It's dark, it's quiet, and there's a nearly 3.5-meter-long snake hidden in the shadows, watching your every move through your body heat. Spotting it before it strikes? Good luck with that. The bushmaster is the kind of creature that turns a casual walk in the woods into a full-blown horror movie. No wonder it holds such a prominent place among the most dangerous snakes on the planet. Number 6. Snake trap. Traps are common tools used all over the world to capture animals that might pose a threat or simply be a nuisance. From rats and raccoons to more dangerous creatures like snakes, traps are part of the ongoing relationship between humans and nature. Most of the time, snake traps are designed for smaller species, the kind that, while unwelcome indoors, can usually be safely released back into their natural habitat. But sometimes, things aren't quite that simple. Now imagine this scene. A massive anaconda slowly emerges from the water and ends up caught in a trap. It's a tense and surprising moment because it's not every day you see a snake of that size in such a situation. The snake is clearly uncomfortable, struggling with all its strength to break free, which is understandable considering creatures that large aren't usually trapped so easily. It's the kind of moment that easily goes viral online, especially when there's a layer of mystery involved. The story behind the video is even more curious. Apparently, a local resident had noticed several birds suddenly vanishing from his property. Concerned, he suspected a snake might be behind it and decided to take action. A trap was set up in the area to confirm the suspicion, and it worked. The snake was caught, proving that the predator was indeed among them. But like all good stories on the internet, this one comes with a twist. The big reveal? The video was edited. That's right. It's not that the snake wasn't there, but the footage had been digitally altered to make the anaconda appear even larger than it really was. A clever visual trick, but one that raises questions about the reliability of content shared online. After all, the impact of a giant anaconda is far more dramatic than that of a regular-sized snake, and that leads to more views, clicks, and shares. In the end, this story is a reminder of two things. First, that snakes are truly fascinating and unpredictable creatures, and second, that not everything we see on the internet is exactly as it seems. Number 5. Python in the field. One of the main reasons so many people are terrified of snakes is simple. They can appear out of nowhere, literally. These reptiles are masters of camouflage and silence, which means you could be just inches away from a snake and have no idea. That's why many snake bites don't happen out of aggression, but by accident, someone steps where they shouldn't and the snake reacts. Now picture this. You're working in a sugarcane field. It's just another normal day, and suddenly, while walking between the plants, you come face to face with a 5-meter-long python. It's no exaggeration to say that kind of encounter could change your relationship with nature forever. Honestly, I'd think twice before stepping back into that field. But this real story goes beyond the initial scare. The snake was found inside a drilling hole, a hard-to-spot, dangerous place, especially if you're not paying close attention. According to reports, the python had just gotten rid of a dog that had been sent in to find it, a scene as tragic as it was shocking. It highlights not only the strength and defensive power of this snake, but also how unpredictable these situations can be. And now comes the part that might make you shake your head. Instead of backing away or calling for help immediately, some of the first people who spotted the python decided to take selfies with it. Yes, selfies. Nothing like that human instinct to ignore danger when there's a good social media moment to be had. Luckily, after that reckless detour, authorities were called and managed to safely rescue the snake. This episode serves as a double reminder. First, that snakes like the python, while dangerous, generally don't want to attack us. They just want to be left alone. And second, that common sense, especially when it comes to wild animals, should always come before a post on social media. Number 4. Python attack. Let's be honest, many of you aren't just here to learn about how big snakes can get. You're here for the real danger, the heart-pounding encounters that make your blood run cold. So, continuing our giant snake saga, it's time to talk once again about the infamous pythons. And no, I'm not talking about my biceps, though they're just as powerful. This time, we head over to sunny Florida. Yes, her again, where a man experienced a moment of pure tension with a python measuring no less than 5 meters long. Now, before you assume he was just taking a casual stroll and got ambushed, let me clarify. He and a partner were intentionally trying to capture the snake, and not for fun. In Florida, pythons are considered an invasive species that threaten the local ecosystem, so the government actually allows and even encourages hunters to take them down. But things didn't exactly go as planned. After they managed to capture the snake, the two men tried to carry it over to a nearby dirt road. That's when everything went off the rails. Suddenly and violently, the python wrapped itself around one of the men, squeezing hard and showing exactly why these snakes are so feared. The constricting power of a python this size is enough to break bones and stop someone from breathing. One slip-up, 1 second of distraction, and this story could have had a very different ending. Fortunately, the man was able to break free with the help of his partner before things turned fatal. After the terrifying moment, not only did they both live to tell the tale, but they also skinned the snake and made some money from it. It might sound harsh, but for local residents, taking down these snakes is a way to protect native wildlife and earn a bit on the side. In the end, And this encounter didn't just highlight the threat these snakes pose, it also became one of those local legends. Two men, a 5-meter python, and a literal struggle between life and death. Number 3. Anaconda in the Amazon. You've probably heard the phrase, found in its natural habitat, right? It means spotting an animal or plant exactly where it belongs, living in harmony with its surroundings, untouched by human interference. And when that happens, the best thing we can do is admire from a safe distance. But as we know, that's not always the case. In a small village in Peru, deep within the vast Amazon rainforest, which by the way stretches across several South American countries, a group of locals had one of those rare encounters with an incredible creature. While approaching the river to go about their daily chores, they came face to face with a massive 5-meter-long anaconda. And the most surprising part? It was just lying there on the riverbank, taking a nap. Yes, the snake seemed completely at peace, and for a good reason. It had apparently just finished swallowing an entire animal. With a full belly, all it wanted was to rest and digest its meal, something we can all relate to. Who hasn't wanted a nap after a big lunch? So, what did the villagers do? Well, what anyone would do when faced with one of the rainforest's top predators. They took photos. After all, they said they had never seen an anaconda that big before, and they wanted to capture the moment. And honestly, it's easy to understand the fascination. Seeing an anaconda of that size in the wild, without fences or barriers, is not something that happens every day. Of course, it's important to remember that this kind of close encounter can be dangerous, even when the animal appears calm. An anaconda's strength is immense, and if it feels threatened, it can react aggressively. But in this case, thankfully, everything went smoothly. The snake eventually woke up, slipped back into the river, and went on its way as if nothing had happened. This episode is a powerful reminder of how awe-inspiring and unpredictable nature can be, and just how much we still have to learn, especially when we choose to observe it with respect. Number 2. The Eastern Indigo Snake. At just under 3 meters in length, the eastern indigo snake might not be the largest snake in the world, but it definitely deserves a spotlight. It's long, imposing, and, interestingly, non-venomous. And before you picture tropical rainforests or exotic regions as its home, know this. This snake lives in the United States, specifically in Georgia. Yes, the US state, not the European country. In fact, the eastern indigo snake holds a pretty impressive title. It's the longest native snake species in the United States. That's right. In a country known for its giant cities, endless highways, and pop culture, this snake quietly reigns as the longest in the land. Surprising, right? But unlike other large snakes that thrive in lush tropical forests or African savannas full of prey, the eastern indigo snake doesn't rely on a specific environment to grow to such impressive lengths. It's the kind that adapts, the "I'll make it work" type, and that's one of its most interesting traits. This snake can be found in a wide variety of habitats, from flooded fields and scrublands to dry clearings, stream banks, sugarcane fields, forests, and even highlands with well-drained sandy soil. In other words, it's not picky. Give it space and food, and it's good to go. You could say the eastern indigo is a true reptilian nomad. However, not everything is smooth sailing for this gentle giant. Even though it poses no threat to humans, it's still deeply affected by our actions. Habitat destruction caused by urban expansion, intensive agriculture, and other factors has drastically reduced its population. Because of this, the eastern indigo snake is now considered a threatened species, quietly disappearing from the wild. It's a clear reminder that even harmless and adaptable creatures can vanish if we don't respect nature's balance. And let's be honest, losing a snake of this size, one that just wants to live in peace, would be a real blow to American biodiversity. Number 1. The Eastern Diamondback Rattlesnake. To close this list with a bang, and start in the United States, we have a snake that's just as terrifying as it is fascinating, the infamous Eastern Diamondback Rattlesnake. If you've heard the name before, you probably know it's no joke. Not only is it dangerous, it's also massive, earning the title of the largest and heaviest venomous snake in all of the Americas. And it definitely lives up to that title, with pride and venom. Even though it measures only about 2.5 meters, which might seem modest compared to other giants on this list, this snake makes up for it where it really counts: lethality. Its venom isn't just potent, it's devastating. It attacks blood cells and body tissue, potentially causing necrosis, organ failure, and, if left untreated, death. And the worst part? It doesn't need to strike without warning. Its infamous rattle is one of the most chilling natural alarms you'll ever hear if you get too close. The Eastern Diamondback is a symbol of the silent power and threat some snakes represent. With its camouflaged coloration and thick body, it can hide in various environments, especially in the southeastern United States, waiting for the right moment to to strike if it feels threatened. Like a true guardian of its territory, it's not naturally aggressive, but it definitely won't tolerate being disturbed. On the flip side, not everything is doom and gloom. Thanks to medical advances, an effective antivenom exists for its bite, which brings some relief to those living in areas where this snake is common. But don't get too comfortable. Time is critical, and if you don't make it to the hospital quickly after being bitten, the chances of serious or even fatal complications remain high. So, the next time you hear a rattle coming from the bushes, it might be wise to change direction. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed our content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Don't forget to check out other interesting content appearing on your screen right now, and I'll see you in the next video. See you next time.